Okay, we are rolling. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the minutes from last meeting. Tammy, I know you had something.
I did, sorry. Line 40. It says covenants and restrictions on the deeds instead of attached to.
Oh,
That's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
did I have anything?
No, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 19th as amended.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
I doesn't have non-public meeting minutes from April 19th. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have your agenda.
So,
On that.
no, I don't. That goes on the minutes.
Oh, that was.
That was from that meeting. He's trying to mess up your minutes, Jane.
And listen, just stay out of everything. All right. Next on the agenda is White Mountain National Forest is here for discussion on the vegetation management opportunities in the Lock River area. So if you gentlemen want to introduce yourself and then yourselves and then fill us in.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I'd like to thank the Lincoln Select Board for allowing us the opportunity to come and meet with you tonight. My name is Roger Boyer. I'm the acting district ranger of the Pemmichewasset Ranger District of the White Mountain National Forest. My office is in Campton. When I say acting, that means I'm sitting in that chair for about 4 months. Brooke Brown,
so much.
who you may all know, is on a temporary assignment in Washington, D.C. So she'll be back in August. And I'm trying to keep things going while she's away. So, and my colleague here, Scott Hall, is the District National Environmental Policy Act Coordinator. And we're here this evening to give a brief overview of the project we're calling the Lost River Project. And we'll talk a little bit about where the project is located, what the objectives are, and also so to let folks know that we're starting what we call our public engagement process, public involvement process. So we're hoping to engage people in the greater Woodstock and Lincoln communities to help with the development of the Lost River Project. And we'll also talk a little bit about, Scotty will, about project timeline. And I'll get into some of those objectives, things that we're looking to accomplish, why we're looking to accomplish them. And Scotty will also talk about how folks can get involved. We have a process. We're in the very early preliminary stages of this project development. And you all have a map in front of you there. So the right in the center of the map, roughly near the intersection of 112 and 118, there's a large green circle, if you will. That's where probably 95% of the project area is. You can see that's entirely within Woodstock there. But then to the north, at about 12 o'clock on your maps, there's I guess you might call that a capital L, or it kind of reminds me of the shape of Idaho in green there. That crosses over the Woodstock Lincoln line, and that's in Lincoln. So that's where another portion of the project area that we're looking at. We're currently doing reconnaissance, and we're likely to propose some activities in those locations. So again, very early stages, very preliminary. And the reason that we do these projects, we call them integrated resource management projects. Sometimes they're called vegetation management projects, is to implement our forest plan or our land and resource management plan. Folks might be aware that the White Mountain National Forest has a guiding document that the public helped create back in 2005. That's still our guiding document. It's in a sense, it's like a zoning document, and it describes a plan for the desired future objectives that the public was involved in developing, Forest Service was involved in developing. So as we work forward in implementing that plan, we break the forest into different project areas. That's the one that you see on your map here. And we conduct various different inventories and reconnaissance to see what the current condition on the ground is and how it differs from the desired future condition of our forest. And then we make note of what those differences are and what sort of actions can we take to move that piece of ground towards the desired condition. And I'll get into some specifics there. Recognize that's pretty vague. So one of our key objectives is to look at all the infrastructure that we have in those locations, like roads, hiking trails, snowmobile trails. Look at that infrastructure and say, is it still up to par? Yeah, are there erosion concerns, weight restriction concerns, any of those type of improvements that are needed? Do we need new or different trails? Are trails obsolete now? Do they need to be discontinued for various different reasons? So we'll look at all the infrastructure, all the trails, roads, hiking trails, biking trails, etc. See what the condition of those are, and then propose any changes with involvement from the public. That's part of this public involvement process, is to learn more about, well, how does the public use this infrastructure? Are there improvements that they would like to see or differences in the infrastructure? Another key objective that we look at is wildlife habitat and timber products. So those two are kind of closely connected. So our forest plan calls for a diversity of different ages of forest across the national forest: young forest, mature forest, and old forest. So that's where our inventory comes in. We'll look at this project area, determine how many acres of each age class are there, propose activities to diversify that age class. And that creates both timber products and different wildlife habitat for different species of interest. I think those are the primary objectives. Again, we're in the early stages. We've coordinated with the town office here. We're going to have a public involvement meeting on May 25th here in this room, I believe, from 5:30 to 6 to 7:30, 6 to 7:30, and we'll be mailing a letter to all the abutters that abut these project areas, with a list of abutters. Then also, of course, sharing with you all that we're going to be having this meeting. And so we really would like public engagement. We hope that folks come to learn. We'd like to hear from them how folks use these areas and what sort of changes, if any, they'd like to see. Yeah, and I think with that, I'll turn it over to Scotty so he can talk a little bit about our National Environmental Policy Act process and timelines and how folks can get involved. And also, if there's any questions, be happy to entertain those.
All right, thanks, Roger. Yep, so as Roger said, I'm Scotty Hall. I am the Forest National Environmental Policy Act Coordinator, or NEPA coordinator for short. NEPA stands for the National Environmental Policy Act. That act has two main focuses. The first is it requires every federal agency to take a hard look at any environmental effects that may occur due to its actions. And then the second one is to involve and inform the public on what those actions may be and give them a chance to provide feedback to those actions. So there's a few public involvement opportunities that are going to happen over the next year. So after the public meeting that we're going to have here, thank you very much, by the way, for allowing us this amazing space. Sometime next month is going to start what is called scoping. It's going to be a 30-day scoping period. And that is a chance for us to give an initial proposal to the public and say, this is our initial thoughts of what we think that we're doing in this area. What are your initial thoughts on the project? What ideas do you have? What initial concerns or comments do you have on the proposal? What changes would you like to see? So after that is taken into account, we will spend from then until about October doing field work on the area, gathering data. And then through the winter, we'll be analyzing the data. And then sometime next spring, we'll come out with what's called a draft environmental assessments. And with what the environmental effects we have found are going to, we believe are going to be. And then the public will have a chance to review that environmental assessments and then give us feedback on that. And then that will be taken into account, and we will, and around sometime next June, we will put what is called a final environmental assessment and a draft decision notice out to the public. And that will give the public a chance to read the initial draft decision, what the responsible official will put out with her, that will be Brooke, so her decision on the project. And at that point, if the public has previously commented on the proposal, they will have a chance to object and say, I don't agree with your decision for ABC reasons. So after that objection period is done, we will take the objections, and then we make a final decision on what will happen. And after that, implementation can begin. So just to kind of give a rough timeline. So starting next month, we'll begin scoping, and then next spring, the draft assessment will be put out. And then sometime next June, the final assessment and draft decision notice will be put out. And yeah, I think that's about it. And there may be public involvement opportunities in between somewhere. We haven't really decided that far down yet. But yeah, but that's NEPA in a nutshell. Anyone have any questions or anything like that?
How do folks get involved?
Oh, okay, so yeah, as Roger said, I'm going to be putting out letters to every potential abutter the project area. They'll mostly be in Woodstock, but yeah, a decent amount will be in Lincoln. And then if you're not on that, if anyone's not on that mailing list, I will be given, my information will be given to the town office here. Anybody can get a hold of me at any time, and please encourage folks to join the open house. I'll be teaching people how to sign up electronically for notifications when they happen. And that'll give folks a chance to provide input during those scoping and comment periods. Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
so this plan is roughly 18 years old now. And so obviously, as the demographics of the town have changed, traffic patterns have changed, buildings have changed, water systems have changed. I mean, so there's a need for an update, obviously. The funds to update, I assume that comes from the federal government?
Or you're talking, sir, about the White Mountain National Forest Land and Resource Management Plan, the
Yes.
document itself. Yeah, those are funded by the Washington office, regional office.
And thinking about that, is there a way that funds can be commingled between the town, grant money, tax money, or what have you, with those funds to do something that benefits both your goals and the town's goals?
There are ways to partner and collaborate with funding on project level stuff. So for instance, if there was a standalone project that the town was interested in implementing, we can collaborate on those things. As far as updating the forest plan as a whole, to the best of my knowledge, there aren't any plans or funding allocated for that larger scale effort. So what I mean by that is, like, the project area we're looking at is limited to the map that's before you, which might be, I don't know, the acreage, 50,000 acres or something to that effect. Whereas the White Mountain National Forest is 800,000 acres. So quite a scale difference there. And as far as I know, there's no plan on the near horizon to review the larger forest plan. So, but project by project area, that's where I think we can look at, take a hard look at those things that have changed and involve the public in, like you said, there's a different demographic, or what does the water infrastructure look like now? What do the road systems look like now? Are they meeting desired future conditions? what are their current conditions? That happens with the project.
Thank you.
One question I had is, you expect the final environmental assessment to be out, say, a year from June? So in just over a year? And then you said there will be implementation. What's the time frame for the implementation part of that? Is that like something you're gonna do in 1 year, or is that a 10-year? What's?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of it'll depend on the nature of what's being implemented. So for instance, if it's creating a wildlife opening, that's only a handful of acres, that could be implemented in a matter of months. You know, from beginning, middle, and end, all finished up. If it's a larger scale timber sale, some of our contracts are typically 5 years in length. And oftentimes it takes a contractor the full 5 years to implement it. If it's a recreation or snowmobile trail improvement, those vary in length. Sometimes they're able to be completed in 6 months, sometimes it'll take, typically that's coordinated with clubs. Sometimes that takes upward of a year or more, depending on the nature of the changes. So kind of all over
Okay.
the map there, but
Makes sense. Yeah. No, I actually had written down several questions, but you answered them all.
Yeah.
Has to be good things. No, I think the public input is good. I hope people turn out. A lot of times we don't have a lot of participation in things that the town does, but I assume that you'll keep us aware of stuff like that. How is there any cooperation between the town and the Forest Service as far as like promoting, advertising, things that involve the public?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you wanted to, I don't know if Lincoln has like a news blast or, you know, or folks that sign up. I reside in Ashland, I know I receive those from my town. That could be an avenue that you're welcome to put out there. That really is the heart of, you know, as Scotty mentioned, when he kind of looked at, when he was breaking down the two pieces of NEPA. One, we're required by statute to do the public involvement, but also I think it's part of the New Hampshire DNA to collaborate with your neighbors.
Right.
Here's how you develop a project. So we do have a sincere interest in folks coming. That's part of our reason for being here this evening, is to heighten everyone's awareness that, you know, this is what we're trying to do here in the future, what we're planning to do. We really would love your feedback on the process.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think too, if you could send us electronically a copy of the map and a blurb about it, that Trina can put it on our town website. And obviously, you know, people in the community can maybe have questions answered prior to the hearing even, you know, get them directed to somebody there. And, you know, that might expedite the hearing itself.
Yeah, the letter of invitation they're sending to abutters, that could go on the website, or we could.
Do a
Dan
news
could
blast,
email it out
email
with it. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, part of my plan is tomorrow, in fact, to email Karina, the flyer for the open house and
Fantastic.
the map. Yeah. And some other information.
Okay,
Perfect. Then
yeah,
we
we'll
can,
get it on the website and
in
yeah,
our Facebook page.
yeah, and like we have the news blast to the email blast,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, if
Email
you
that
put it on the
perfect.
Facebook page, make it shareable, because there's groups like
Right.
Exit 32 group and this and that other group and.
Yeah.
People will share that.
Chamber
word-
and-
Chamber,
Yeah.
word gets around.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and as we go through the public involvement process and more materials get created, I'll be then emailing them to Karina as soon as they're available.
Super. If there's anything else we can help with beyond that, just let us know.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you all
Thank
for
you.
your
Yeah,
time.
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Letting us know what's going on.
No, yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm gonna ask about that.
We've already talked to another time.
Oh, okay.
Might be another. Maybe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, want to go to the town manager's report?
Sure. Do you want to, or do we want to talk briefly about the letter we received from Riverfront condominiums?
We can do that. We can do that. The ladies bathtub,
Yes. Do you have a copy of it? I have it right here.
you have a copy of it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
You wanna read it or do you wanna just attach to the minutes?
Let's attach it to
Well,
it.
That's attached to it. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
lengthy.
All right,
Well, we've already made, take some steps before we even got here. Some steps have been taken.
oh,
Yeah.
all right. You want to get on topic, by why don't you start with what?
Give you a brief summary.
Of
Sure.
what has been done since maybe,
So we received a letter from Riverfront Condos. Essentially, last summer, we made the 16 parking spaces at the ladies' bath to Woodstock and Lincoln property owners only.
Permitted.
Permitted with the
Dumpster.
dumpster, correct?
Well, solid waste.
Yes, all those facilities, thank you. So we did make strides last year. We put up new signs last year notifying the public of that. We notified the chamber website. We did all that.
We amended the,
Our traffic and parking
Mhm.
ordinance
Thank
to allow the PD to then monitor those parking spots and ticket them if necessary. Looking back at it, we received a letter from the Riverfront Condominium Association Board, kind of addressing that that there were improvements made and that there are, thankful of the improvements made, and they kind of gave us the more popular times that they run into issues, and essentially some, I guess, suggestions for maybe changes to the signage. So we talked to Nate Hadaway, our Public Works Director, and we also talked to Chief Morris. Chief Morris had some concerns the way the signs were written, that he felt that where they were placed, that it was gonna be hard for him to enforce it because the individual parking spots didn't have that notice. It was before you entered the circle, so it
Right.
wasn't actually in the
which
circle.
you and I and everybody would know that it says, ladies bathtub parking limited to permit
Right.
for Lincoln Woodstock. We know that. But if you're Joe Blow coming from Idaho, he doesn't know what ladies bathtub is. He's gonna pull in the park and go to the river. So
right,
it needed to be a little more.
Need to be a little bit
clarified
more
than
clear,
that.
yeah. So we've ordered some new signage. We're gonna, I think the exact verbiage on the sign is gonna be like from this arrow to this arrow, or between these spaces,
At
the arrows.
It's the entrance on each side, there's gonna be a sign that says permit parking only with an arrow going in. Permit parking only with an arrow going in, and then on that center pole, have another one that says permit parking only. So it'll be very clear to Joe Blow from Idaho or anybody else.
Yeah.
That you need a permit to park in that circle,
Yes,
and then it's enforceable with the PD. So those
Correct.
signs have been ordered, they're gonna go up.
they're gonna go up yet whenever we get them delivered or we get them in. Nate also suggested, and I don't know if we definitely want to do this, that he could like spray paint number the parking spaces. So it's very clearly identified that the 16 spaces are the 16 spaces, yeah. So
I think it will take that step if we have to. Let's see how this goes.
Let's check with the homeowners association before they go on anything.
Well, that's our land, it's not theirs.
Yeah, painted, I mean, they may
Well,
not.
that's our land, not theirs. That parking lot belongs to the town, not. That parking circle belongs to us, not the homeowners.
we have a
Is there an easement or something?
easement.
No, we don't have any easements. There are no easements with that property.
Let's not push the issue regardless.
Yeah.
Out of mutual working together, let's contact them before we spray paint.
right, yes, and then that was just a suggestion
If
Nate
you
had.
read the letter, they specifically point out there to remind us that we don't have an easement to access Ladies Bad, which is BS, because there's no way they can keep it from.
But we're gonna make strides to try to clarify where the parking is and to allow the PD the ease of enforcement,
The ability, yeah.
the ability to enforce. So that ball is rolling and hopefully the new signs will go up, like I said, in the next week or two when we receive the signs in hand.
I'm
And obviously the weekends are the busiest, ladies bathtub, it's also the busiest.
In town.
Police department.
Right.
Right,
It would be good if that could be. A specific weekend. Procedure for the police to.
It is.
To circle.
Yeah, I
through
think
there.
it is one of their spots that they swing through
It
on
is.
the, you know, when shift change and for different shifts. It is part of their routine, but, you know, obviously it is the,
that's ours.
Okay.
Hmm. See, don't ever doubt me, I'm always right. So,
Guess
yeah,
they don't pay taxes on it. Either way, it's.
Right, yeah.
Pretty good to be,
yeah,
working
yeah.
together.
Chad was CC'd on the email. Chad's been involved in the signing
Yeah,
discussion. He's well aware, that, you know, once the warm weather hits, it's a hot spot in town.
yep, sure is,
Sure is.
as it should be,
Right.
because it's been a hot spot in town for over 100 years, the locals and such to swim there. Well before there were condos anywhere, so just putting that out.
That's all.
All right. Do you want to keep going?
Oh,
with
I'll
it?
keep going. Yeah, here we go.
Manage-
Let me go. I'll just keep
No,
going.
you're done.
That's it. Grand Kiss update. We have received an updated contract from Grand Kiss. They agreed to keep the contract flat to the previous year, to the
Good.
previous agreement. To date, we have 322 active registrations. I wrote this on Friday, so maybe there's a couple more trickled in, but there were 108 letters sent last month. 46 of those properties are now registered.
Excellent.
There are a total of 74 non-compliant properties with their addresses identified. So they will get a second round of letters and they will receive the fine upon registration. So that's kind of where we sit with Grand Kiss right now. But as of today, with the 322, we have we've recouped the
Broken
expense.
even,
We've broken even. So it's
Good.
only,
And
we're only
that's
going to be
right.
in the black from here on in.
That's good.
And we get new ones every day, you know, or every couple of days. We're getting, you know, whether the property transfers or it's a new,
Sure,
you know, short-term rental, we're definitely still seeing them come in. I think we took in $7,400 last month. So we're, you know, they're keeping, you know, they're coming in slowly.
Excellent.
Um,
See, that's a success, in my opinion, that it's getting done, it's not taking up all of our man hours and time and effort and energy, and it's paying for itself,
It's a right,
yes.
you know,
revenue neutral.
exactly.
Right, absolutely. And I think we'll end up, you know, like I
Yeah.
said, I think we'll end up revenue strong, you know, I mean, we
Right.
already.
That wasn't the goal, but
But that
yes,
wasn't the goal,
absolutely,
right.
yeah. The goal was that the program pays for itself.
Right, and we're definitely still working out the kinks, you know, it's the first full year of,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
people. We ran into this past week, now that the renewal. Timeframe has expired. We got calls last week that people couldn't renew online. I can't renew. And it's like, well, because it's already expired. Now you gotta do a new registration and they gotta go through the whole process.
Oh,
and whatnot.
gotcha.
So that was nice. So next year, I think will be more simple for us in-house, because all these questions will kind of be answered and they'll automatically get an email and it's time to renew and they can automatically go on. And, you know, we kind of played this hybrid
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Some of it was, you know, manual and some of it was online and some of it was renewal and some of it was, you know, new registration. So I think next year it's going to be even easier for us, but
Excellent.
moving in the right direction now.
Good.
No, that's great. We haven't had any payment issues in a while, so
Good.
that's good.
Knock on wood.
Grafton County ARPA funds application. I did submit a application to the county for their ARPA funding. I submitted it for a structural analysis and air quality evaluation at the fire department. I have yet to hear any response. Well, I received a response that they received it, but I haven't received anything formal. I think they were meeting at the end of this month to review the applications, if I remember correctly. I couldn't remember, can't remember what Jerry said when they were meeting, but I know the executive committee was, the county's executive committee was going to be reviewing the applications. So hopefully we'll hear from them shortly.
Awesome.
And we do have to wait for that to be approved, I assume, before we contract.
Yes, I mean, if that's how we're gonna spend that money,
Okay.
yeah. We're on the same timeline for the ARPA funds where it has to be spent by 2026, so we would have to do it in the next,
Right,
2 years.
but, was it Boiler Channel?
Yes. Yes, and we have reached out to them to do the second round of.
Okay.
the Evaluation.
But they know we're waiting for this.
Correct.
Okay,
I think they're just kind of waiting for us to say,
we got,
like a contract together.
We got the approval.
Right, yeah, yeah.
okay,
I'm gonna skip over the next one because I think it's gonna be a longer conversation.
let's do
So, we also received the final AIA agreement from LBA, to do the schematic and final designs for the new police station. After reviewing it, there are a few items that we are, asking to be amended in the agreement. One of them specifically, most of them are very little, but, the biggest one is, the geotechnical borings. In the current contract right now, as written, it says the town would be responsible for getting a contractor to do those, and we since know after discussions with Ray Corber and Rob Robichek from LBA that they are going to be responsible for that. So we need that taken out of the current contract, that language taken out of the current contract, or revised that the architects will be responsible for that. So I think Ray Corber says that's a standard language in all AIA agreements, so it probably was just overlooked, but we definitely still want to make sure that that's corrected in the agreement. So we should receive a revised one soon. Something else that I think we need to discuss in regards to the new police station, and I don't think it needs to be decided obviously today or tomorrow, but we probably want an owner's rep on the project. We're going to want someone with some sort of expertise in that field who is going to be the owner's rep for the project outside of the contractor. Or outside of the yeah. So something to think about.
So you're talking about a clerk of works. right?
Essentially,
Yeah.
Just, we've thrown around, potentially maybe a fire chief could do it, or potentially, I don't have the expertise in that field to be on site and know what's going on, so I think it would behoove us to think about if we're gonna have a clerk of the works for that project, or an owner's rep on site. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be every day, but someone who has some sort of expertise in that field that can answer questions and bounce ideas off it if we run into any kind of snafu things. So,
okay.
something to think about. Legal update, trial management conference for the Wood hearing has been scheduled for the end of August. The exact date is still to be determined. Jason had a conflict with the original date, so he was asking them to revise it by a few days. Jury selection has been scheduled for September 5th at 9 a.m. And the trial is scheduled for, it just said September 2023. Jason said that it's usually a few weeks after jury selection that the trial will start. So that is moving forward.
What would you sum up? Is there any update on the Nelson?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I don't have any.
So that's still in limbo.
Still in limbo.
No set dates, no jury selection, nothing.
The last I remember is that it was set for at some point in this summer, but I think we've already talked about this. They didn't, it was smack dab in the middle of their construction season for both
Yeah, I think it was
Nelson
in
and
June.
Coleman and.
Right.
And so they were trying to push it back to the fall.
Okay.
So I will keep you updated when I hear
All right.
anything from that. Ray Corber, we were gonna invite Ray Corber here to discuss Riverfront Park. Due to some vacation schedule and illnesses, he was unable to be here today. And he also wants Novus to be present at that meeting as well.
Okay.
So we have scheduled them for the May 22nd meeting. So we will get an update on Riverfront Park and the most recent round of assessments at that time. Financial update, you have a copy of the expenditures in your packets. I will preface that by saying there are definitely some erroneous figures in there. We had a department head meeting last Friday and I provided the department heads updated expenditures, and we have realized now that there are certain expenditures that Jonna knew where they went and I didn't know where they went. So we just tried our best until we could find time to do a little research for. So you're gonna see like solid waste and sewer. Their electricities are totally, it looks like we're already over budget, but that's because I was supposed to code them to the H2O innovations, because H2O pays
Oh,
our contractor for that. She
Okay.
has their own
Okay.
special line item. So there's
Gotcha.
definitely some things that are skewing some of the expenditures. So my goal is to clean them up within the next few weeks and hopefully May's expenditures even out. So we'll be able
Gotcha.
to actually have accurate figures. I also asked all the department heads to kind of go through their line items and see anything that looks funky or we don't line up. So then we can make the, correct reversals or
Gotcha.
journal entries. So, some things also you're gonna see like executive contracted services. It looks like we're 50% through, but that's because we pay all of our annual services once town
Right.
meeting is
Right.
completed. So our vision, our tax collect software, our assessing, all of our annual
It's all paid.
subscriptions, it's all paid in the month of March or April. So that is a huge chunk, they're one-time fees. So things look a little funky in some of the lines, but I'm hoping that by next month, they're gonna look better. And again, it's not every line, but there's definitely some lines that are a little bit out of whack. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out when you're going through them. Oh yeah, I've added that. And then employee vacancies, I just, as a tool to promote the town vacancies. We are currently looking for advertising for a finance director, a public works laborer, and a part-time tax collector municipal agent. So all interested parties, all interested applicants should reach out to town hall, to Jane or myself, and we can get that ball rolling. We have received a few resumes. Not very many. We're hoping, we missed one round of newspapers, so we're hoping that we'll start to see some more applicants come in the next week here, but we don't have very many today, so.
Okay, I saw those all advertised in the Courier.
Mhm.
Where else are you putting those?
We put them in the Plymouth
Record?
Record, the Courier, we put them on NHMA and in Indeed as well, right?
I didn't go there yet
Okay.
because
HMA is
it's
huge.
inundated.
People
with-
wanting.
Well,
to switch
and
out.
but the thing with anyone who's in the municipal world is gonna go to NHMA, but the thing with NHMA is there are so many advertisements being put on every day, and Jane and I have talked about this, is we're gonna put it on every week, every 2 weeks, so it's always at the top until we get enough applicants or we get a position, just so we don't get lost on page 4 or 5 the day after we
Right.
post the job.
And again, that's good for people looking for municipal jobs, whereas. Like Indeed might be good for like the highway crew
Right.
laborer isn't looking necessarily at
Right.
municipalities, they're looking at construction companies.
Right.
So
I have no problem, I did, but we've done it before and,
with Indeed,
oh yeah.
but it gets a lot of
You get a lot of stuff that you use,
useless
yeah,
resumes.
But
Yeah.
what you just said for DPW,
Yeah.
I'll do that, let's see
what
what
happens.
comes
That
in.
might be a good idea, at least with DPW, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're trying, we'll keep-
It's you
that's all we
and
can do.
everybody else.
Right, exactly.
Right.
We're fighting the crowd,
Exactly.
so. So we'll see what happens. We are moving along though. And then the last thing that obviously is gonna be a much bigger discussion is I submitted an application to the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank and have engaged with Rennell at Divine Milliment for bond counsel. Most likely any bank we go to, unless it's a bank that we've used very recently to take out a bond, we're gonna need a new bond counsel opinion. Rennell, we don't get charged unless we use her services, unless we get a bond through a bank that requires a bond service. So essentially engaging with her and just providing her the information is just free of charge until we bite the bullet, essentially.
Gotcha.
We have also received a few different funding options back from Union Bank. I included those in your packets. So I liked how they gave us options.
Yeah.
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 And I thought that was very smart on their part,
Yeah.
and it also allowed us to, I think, be a little bit more creative and flexible with our financing. So that's where we stand.
He's waiting to hear back from the bond bank to see where they're at.
We should hear back from the bond bank on Tuesday, May 16th. So next week, bond bank reviews application and mails loan agreements to bond councils. Last Friday, they determined the maximum loan rates. So
Okay.
we should hear back from that shortly.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay, so that's moving right along.
We're moving right along. So I think when we hear back from them, we can then, I guess, kind of go through everything and decide
Right.
what's our best option.
Yeah,
The Union Bank had a 45-day window.
Right.
That these rates are good for. Now, that puts us like at a June 10th-ish. Deadline for making application. We need to make a decision, I would say, beginning of June. It's only
yes,
a couple of weeks.
Ideally, end of May, right?
right.
What's our meeting schedule here?
I think the 22nd is the next time we
Yep.
meet, and then we'll meet again on the 6th or something, is that right?
5th of June.
The 5th, yeah. So I think, I'm hoping within the next 2 meetings, we will at least hear back from the bond bank. We'll have, and if we need to have
Rates to compare.
rates to compare it to, and if we need to have a special meeting just to discuss, I think, the financing, then
We'll do
we'll
that.
do that, right?
Yeah,
And Union, I've been in communication with Union Bank, so they know, they know that we are exploring other options in the bond bank as well, and that
Right,
we're
right,
gonna
right.
discuss it tonight, so. I'm staying in constant.
well, if you
Well,
can have all the info from the bond bank, when we meet on the 22nd, we should be able to make a decision at that.
Hopefully, yeah, I mean, we can at least have a deeper discussion.
I'm sure, yeah, excellent.
The other thing I liked about the Union Bank is that with the bond bank. We apply, get approved. They give us all our money at once. We start
Right.
paying interest from day one.
Exactly.
With Union Bank, we have 1 year
Mhm.
to withdraw the funds as we need it.
Right.
Where we're not paying interest on money
That we don't need.
that we don't need.
Right,
Um,
but it's available there and,
it's there anytime,
Exactly,
for
right.
12 months, we
yep,
take the money as needed, and then at the end of 12 months, we convert that into one of those 3 options.
Yeah, the
that they
lottery.
gave us.
Right.
I
And
assume
as long as they're,
that we need to choose, I know that according to the letter, we need to choose which option we're gonna go to. We can't wait for that 1 year to go by.
Right,
which is too
right,
bad.
yeah.
You know,
which is fine,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I'm thinking that the last interest rate hike
It's gonna be.
was just the one they just did
Yes,
a week ago. or 2 months ago. That's just no wish.
Yeah.
We don't
life,
know.
right.
No, I liked their package, their bid package.
I
you know,
did too.
Yeah. I thought it
Yes,
was-
absolutely.
They obviously put some time into putting this together. It wasn't like cookie cutter, like, oh, we'll just give them this.
No,
And they printed out the
amortization schedules.
schedules, and what we left out with the fixed rate periods and
Right.
stuff like that.
And they, did it for both a 5-year and a 10-year and a 20-year, so,
Exactly, yeah,
we saw the real numbers, which I think helps. So,
All right, let's just keep this as good information, but when we get the bond bank, we can compare
sure.
numbers.
That's really all I have. I'm still assuming the role, Jonna's role as a finance director. I will say that I feel like we're in a good spot. We finally have caught up. There's no backlog. We have invoiced Woodstock, and we have also cut revenue checks for them. So we're all caught up with them. We're in good shape. That was one of my major concerns. So we're kind of just caught up now. It's just maintaining, which is a stress reliever, I think, for everyone.
Good.
Especially me.
Yes. Wait a minute, you don't like working day in, doing, you know.
Well, it's a lot easier to maintain than it is to
Oh, sure,
catch up.
for sure.
Catching up was stressful. I will say this, we are not using our current fund accounting system to its fullest potential. Carrie from MRI came up last week and sat down with me for a few hours in the morning and showed me through the system and how to do reports and how to, process things that need to, get done. We are not using that system to its fullest potential. So I have contracted with them. They're drafting agreements to get us on a cloud-based system. We're the only town of the 30 towns that they service that aren't cloud-based yet. We are also going to give the department heads in real time access to their own budget.
Excellent.
So they can go in at any time and say, has this bill been paid? What's going on here? Is this in the process? They know what it is. If someone calls like a vendor, they can say, this was paid on this date with this check number, which I think is really cool. So they don't have to ask me or ask the new finance
Right,
director
right.
those questions.
So that's great.
We're also not reconciling the bank statements through the software. Jonna was doing it through an Excel spreadsheet, which in my personal opinion sounds like a nightmare to try to do. So I am relying on the treasurer's reconciliation for the month of March and April, because they also do it in an Excel spreadsheet, but rather than try to teach myself the Excel spreadsheet process, we are going to move to the account reconciliation in the software system.
Right.
So I've engaged with them to do that as well. So hopefully we can, moving forward, do it, in the software rather
Perfect.
than via Excel. So,
Good. No, that's good.
Sounds like a time saver and,
Yes.
In the 20%.
yeah.
yeah, it's just,
Better way.
not that she was doing it wrong, it just seems like it, like you said, it seems like it was a very cumbersome task to try to do reconciliation via an Excel spreadsheet. So hopefully, once we get this new system up and running, it will be much more simple for the person who's doing it.
Excellent.
So we are moving in the right direction.
I believe we all got an email from Drew about the crosswalks up in Littleton.
No.
No,
No.
I didn't.
I did not have been the only one.
I didn't see.
Oh, all right, I'll forward it to you.
What about it?
The other, well, it was an article in the Caledonia Record about Littleton moving away from, how we have the green painted
Mhm.
crosswalks, and that when it's wet or rainy, how slippery they can be. And they've moved away from that painted, varying surface types. But the link to his article was only available if you subscribe to the Caledonia Record, which I don't, and I wasn't gonna subscribe for one article.
Right.
But it sounded like an interesting idea. I don't know if we've had a problem with slippery. I don't know how slippery these are. I don't know if he mixes sand in with them or if they are just like an enamel paint that does get slippery. But I didn't know if that was something we wanted to inquire with Nate about, what his thoughts are on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he buys a paint that is obviously for street painting. I'm pretty sure of that because I know he orders it like
Right.
through a special company,
Right.
But whether or not it has sand, I don't know the details
Yeah.
of the specific.
And I
specific-
Main Street all the time, and I don't think I've ever slipped on one, but I don't recall, never paid attention. They have paid attention to it at night. They're not visible. Not as visible as they should be. I remember when we put the lights in 2 years ago, the flashing lights at the crosswalks, they had said at that point that the white hash mark, striped ones are very visible. Way more visible than the solid green, although I like how the green ones look.
Sure, they've got a luminous paint that
That's
has
what I'm
a
saying,
grid
like
in it.
reflective or
Yeah.
something.
I'm sure you can get something that has good.
I can ask Nate what he
If it's a
orders
problem.
and if he thinks that it would be beneficial for us to maybe, I'm sure that comes with the cost to change paint or upgrade paint or whatnot, but.
And it wouldn't happen this year because it's already been budgeted and bought, but
Well, I think he's gonna start painting
sure.
any day now.
And I love them. I love how they look. Love how they look. Just that at night, you don't really see them.
I can't find this real quickly, but I'll forward it to you, but
No worries.
yeah, I'm assuming Nate already bought paint or ordered it.
Yeah, I know,
So,
he was waiting
I'm gonna
for this
ask
week's weather, I think, to
Right.
start painting,
But-
so.
Anyway, I'll forward the email and.
Okay.
And then the other thing I had is I got the information on the business park that Jane put together,
Yes.
and sent out. And on public record, again, you were right.
Yes.
That's twice tonight.
Oh, boy, the deed restriction.
The deed restrictions don't exist on Donahue's deeds,
You don't.
but they do on the other parcels.
Knew that.
And you know, and again, I don't know where those deed restrictions came. The only lot that we have sold is the one to Sullivan.
Yes.
And I don't know where those restrictions came from, but they were the ones that were part of the deeds that we were, you know, that we had that we could transfer.
Mhm.
So
So we were gonna have council.
Yeah, town council.
look at,
Yeah.
yeah,
I did send an email to Jason, I was, Jane, like, put all that stuff together, I wanted to give it to him in a package, and he said he was gonna have to do a little research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read it.
okay.
That's, yeah, it's not the high priority.
And I kind of told him that, you know,
This time,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's got a couple of other.
he's got a couple other things for us right now, but I just wanted to get it on his radar and said this is something that potentially we're looking to do. But it's not gonna happen in May, you know,
Yeah,
so.
no, and that's fine. No, that's
If
fine.
we could get something together this summer, you know, for potential changes, you
Yeah.
know, I think that would be out of fine.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's keep that on our.
Projects
list
and kind of, yeah.
Projects that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Let's not let that fall behind. And again, I'd like to just. Get the town involved in making a decision. And,
Absolutely.
you know, I
Well,
can
anything
see,
like that, if we change covenants on deeds, we have to go to a town meeting anyway. So having public hearings.
I don't know if it would.
I don't think it does. I think you, I think-
Better check with Jason.
I don't think it does. I think the selectmen technically are in charge of the land in town, just like they are the buildings in town. So I think you could,
Well, to buy and sell though, we need public
no, you don't.
participation. No, yeah, we do.
We have to, the planning board has to be
Yeah.
notified and meet to look at it, and then there has to be 2 public hearings.
Right.
Is that a Lincoln?
No,
thing?
it's a DRSA on.
We have to have
Real
public
estate.
input.
Real estate, public real estate.
Yeah,
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
4113.
so I would
it's
assume
been-
that if we were gonna change any covenants, we'd have to do the same. Go to the planning board and have public hearings.
It actually said that right in either the deed or the minutes that
Oh.
you sent out, it includes that we have to.
A
do-
public hearing. It doesn't need to go to town meeting.
Okay. Here, here, I misspoke.
Yeah.
Sorry.
However, you missed it.
Right,
You are correct.
Yes, say it again.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 rights and 1 wrong.
Jane missed it when you said,
Oh.
say it again, what was it?
I forget.
Oh, no,
Yeah. We need to have a public hearing, but town meeting doesn't need a public.
no, you're right.
All right. But I would like to keep that on.
Yeah, we'll add it to the back on kind of activities and project, progress stats.
Yeah,
okay.
perfect.
Just add it to there,
Yes.
so we don't,
Yes.
awesome, doesn't fall off.
All right, crosswalks. Those are the things that I had. Did you have anything?
A couple of things.
Go ahead.
Number one, Jane, have we heard anything from Woodstock in regards to combined meeting?
I literally just
My level.
reached out again today to Judy.
Okay,
So I just, because I believe they meet tomorrow, they're every other
Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay.
And I said, we have to really get together soon, so. See what she says. But she's my communication with the BOS.
Excellent.
So
we've got Ray Corp coming on the 22nd. And that's to discuss Riverfront Park, because Jim had mentioned something to me, we got one another at the post office the other day. You know, is it feasible to take a grand look at that and say, okay, this isn't gonna work down there because of the cost of the remediation. And change it, because one of the things that we're definitely gonna need here very shortly is municipal park. There's no doubt about it. I think we lack it now. And consequently, is it feasible to look at that area? And again, I'm throwing this out for Jim and I's conversation. To change the scope of that, make it, put pickleball courts down there, put a parking lot down there where, people can have some sort of passive type recreation, you know what I'm saying? Where we don't have to dig into the ground and what have you. So anyways, just a thought, and if it's gonna cost millions to remediate it, then what would it cost to encompass it or cover it over?
We're gonna have to remediate it anyway.
Well, it all depends on what you're gonna do there. And it all depends on the depth that they found it. And if you're not gonna go down a certain amount, and I don't know the federal
That's
guidelines.
what you're saying.
But
Yeah.
it's something that if you're gonna disturb X, you only have to
If
do
we
what?
make it a park where children are eating
Yeah,
dirt.
well, they would know. So I mean,
Right. I
if
get you.
we're talking
Okay.
totally out of whack, then fine, so be it,
Yeah.
but rather know it up front. So that was,
But going along with that,
yeah, Go
I
ahead.
would not want to discuss that until after the feds weigh in on the brownfields grant.
Brent, oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't even want to discuss it, to be honest. I don't want them to,
Yeah.
because they've already invested money in the evaluation process. I would just find it bizarre if they spent all of their federal money in their time and labor. They ran the investigation.
The
Right.
federal money is small money, remember that.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they took control of this project and said, we're gonna investigate what it needs to clean up.
Yep.
They wouldn't do that if they had no intention of cleaning it up.
Right.
I think,
Right.
I think
agree.
they're gonna clean it up and they're gonna pay for it. It's just on our side, will they do that this year? Will they do that in 2 years? Will they do that in 10 years? We don't know that because we don't know what else is on their list.
Right.
What priority this takes over something that might be closer to drinking water, closer to, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So.
Right, we don't know where we stand on the list of projects.
And I'm talking, I'm talking, not spending as little as town money as we can. If the feds are gonna clean it up, that's one thing. If it's gonna cost the town $1 million to clean it up, that's another thing.
Okay,
So,
and I agree with you there. I don't want to spend
okay,
money.
no, we're on the same page.
Until we get, if the EPA comes back and says, nope, we're not gonna do it. Then I'm ready to engage in the discussion of what do we do with it? Do we have to clean it up? Can we cover it over? Can we just put a big parking lot?
Yeah, we were having a conversation,
But
friends of mine were having, now that there's not gonna be, the skate park's not gonna be there. We should put something, make a plan to put something else in that place, like pickleball, like the Gaga pit, something. To that the people are gonna use, which would be cool, but, yeah. But we don't have to have that conversation,
No.
again, we have to have that
and
conversation.
again,
today.
I don't know when we're gonna get an answer from EPA.
Right.
Let's wait. Jim, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, you got what, 12 acres down there,
Give or take,
Minus?
but yeah,
more or less?
Yeah.
You're not gonna make a 12 acre parking.
no,
That's sure. But a portion of it, you might not have to clean up. The rest of it's gonna have.
right, and that's, again, we're waiting to, they're gonna tell us, we're not telling them. So once they tell us what we gotta do, then,
And
hopefully they'll pay for that.
close to Main Street anyways, and I think the worst of the contamination is like down behind the theater.
No,
No, it's where
Burndy,
the parking lot is going to go up towards Linwood Plaza, up
Yeah.
towards the railroad tracks. It was between there and the solid waste and then around that drop off.
yes,
So it's sort of at the base of that.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but that was where like the was what
Concentrated.
had.
do the original, the additional testing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe the area where Riverwalk's got all that stuff piled up. That's eventually gonna be their parking lot.
that's theirs, correct.
So I wouldn't think parking lot for municipal parking would get down any further than that.
I'm think, well, the plans have it for right up near the
Right
railroad.
up near, right up near the road. Yeah.
Oh, that's where the. most of the-
Yeah, which would make the most sense, because
I always
municipal,
thought it was like down behind James.
way back, there was plans for that.
Well, there's gonna be a launch, to a spot where you can drive down, unload your canoe. And back around and then go up to the parking lot down there. So there is gonna be like a turnaround, but not a parking lot.
Right,
Yeah, down.
but I thought that's where most waste was.
No,
No, most of
There is
the places
some,
up
but not-
towards,
there's a small little,
Yeah.
that whitewater spot, but that wasn't a
Oh, with the
huge,
fat white one, yeah.
right, but but it was a small compared, just, and that we knew way back when. We knew that from when
that got
Caleb
cleaned up.
was,
Okay, I see,
Yeah.
the whitewater issue got cleaned up when
Right.
they did Jean's
When they got-
playhouse.
When they took,
Right, there is some in that vicinity,
right,
on the other piece of land. On the current piece of land.
Right,
leading
right,
to Riverfront
right.
Park. But again, most of what I remember is up
agreed.
much closer.
I didn't realize, I
Main
just
Street.
thought it was. Way down.
Jim, I'll print off the map
The map.
if you want to see where they. I'll print off a big copy of the map tomorrow, so you can see where they like drilled and where
Where
they
they drilled,
found stuff, so you
yeah.
can see, yeah. And I'll leave it up front so you can pick it up.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, anything else, Jack?
Yes, I think I sent both of you and Karina received the email that I received from Tammy Jeanette in regards to the benches.
Yep.
Okay, and I think, Karina, you indicated that Nate has ordered a bench or two.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay,
I believe he was looking to see at pricing, because he said he might replace a couple other ones that we have that maybe aren't in the best shape, so.
good,
he's gonna
because
look
that leads to the next thing. I
Okay.
received a call the other day from somebody about the benches along Connector Road. They said they've been in disrepair for a year or so, nails sticking through, people really won't even sit on them. So, could we either send some,
So I was on one of those benches the other day and it was fine.
Deb's shaking her head, yes.
I always on one. I know there's
You're talking the chain link fence, right?
Right, along
No,
the
the
chain link,
benches.
exactly.
Oh, the benches.
the benches are fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
but the
benches.
chain link fence along there's a few spots where it's.
That is state fence, not town fence, and they fix it and the kids cut it so that they can cut through to go to school, so.
That's some of it.
Yeah.
I think the way that was last resolved was that the state said that it's the town's problem that people keep cutting the fence. And so it's up to the town to repair it. There are places though where the actual top rail is bent.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
that's not the kids, that's not people cutting through,
No.
that's either trees.
Is that,
Yeah,
that's
she
what,
was-
that's what cut those trees down.
Oh,
State.
They cut some trees down along there. No, it was,
Wasn't us,
they laid the tree down across that
well,
fence.
wasn't us.
that is something that should be repaired. I mean,
Yeah, because right where it's really bent, real bad.
Yeah.
You look right behind it, you'll see the stump when the tree was cut.
okay,
Interesting.
I don't know who
I
cut
don't
the
know
tree,
who did that.
but. It would, I think it would be, that's a well used
Oh, yes.
walkway.
Absolutely.
Does look great,
Yeah,
and I can't weigh in on the benches, because I don't.
Would you just have Nate take a look at
Yeah,
this?
on Connector Road, you said?
Yeah.
On that-
Connector road, benches and.
stop there,
fence.
chain link fence.
Chain link fence, yeah.
Well,
I had somebody that lives in Lincoln Green, said a couple of those benches are, need to be repaired.
Yeah, and
I sat on, I only sat on one, I
So,
changed diaper. on
let's,
the benches the other day. It was
let's, town crew look at them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's minimal repair necessary.
And on that same note, sort of, if I can, they put up new banners
Mhm.
in
On
town
Route 3?
and up by me, they look awesome.
Yes, they do look good.
The old ones are getting unreadable.
Well, they were ordered in sections.
I think we ordered like 6, I think we budgeted for 6.
We did 10 last year and we have 10 this year, but we're 4 short.
I think we're 6 short on Route 3.
Oh, gotcha. And they'll be next year's, yeah.
Next year's budget.
Kudos to getting them and getting them up. They look great.
That may be one of them right there.
The new banners.
Oh, yeah, I can't see it. Well,
Yeah, I
know-
mean, the nature of those banners is they only last a few years,
Couple years,
and then,
yeah.
you know, with the wind and
You
the
know-
weather and.
If we run a 3-year cycle. They last about
Yeah,
3
yeah.
years,
That's
the
a good-
third
yeah.
year being
Yeah.
marginal, but
Right.
we can live with marginal.
Yeah.
If we just keep going with replacing.
Yeah, I think it's
third-
kind of a standard budget item now where we're just gonna
Yep,
get in
perfect.
and keep them rotating.
All right, sorry, I just did banners because it reminded me of.
Yeah.
But benches and banners all go together.
All right. As far as the water tank, have we heard anything?
We have heard, so, unfortunately Horizons wasn't able to do the work by May 1, but they did say that they were hoping to have the work done by the first week of May. So we're hoping to see something, you know, within the next few weeks here. We also, Nate had talked to the forest, remember we had contracted, or we had talked about contracting a third party to do some of the NEPA review process. The Forest Service reached back out to Sam in regards to that NEPA review, and they believe that because of some of the other reviews that they're doing in this area, that they may be able to expedite themselves some of that review, so we wouldn't have
Oh,
to pay a
fantastic.
third party to do so. So Sam was coordinating with the Forest Service on exactly which parts they would potentially be
Fantastic.
able to do versus which parts we would have to contract out. So that's the last I knew.
Good, and you talked to.
Scott, yeah.
Scott. Right.
Yes, yeah, he
Right.
came in and how's that water tank coming along?
Good.
Uh, Yeah, so I mean, that could save us potentially, you know, some, I mean, we did receive that $50,000 grant to do some of that review process,
Yeah.
but, you know, we could use that money elsewhere.
If it doesn't add on to the time frame,
Yeah,
Right,
I'm
That's how we
fine
do
with
it.
Forest Service too, because they're gonna have to review it. If we hire someone, they're still gonna have to review it.
correct.
If they want to do it themselves, they don't have to review it.
Correct.
Our problem, our reasoning for the third party
Mhm.
was we didn't know when they could start. But
Yes,
if they can start now,
yes, if they can
let them go.
let them go.
absolutely. That's great.
So that's the last I heard. I don't know specifics or details, but, that's, Nate and Sam had a meeting last week and that was brought up.
Tied into that, the commitment from the developer of South Peak is, what was it, 1.2,
I don't know exactly.
Okay. and that's being held in what form at this point in time?
We have a line of credit, right? Yeah,
Letter-
letter of credit.
A letter of credit against it, and there's no expiration on that or anything like
I
that.
believe it was through I think the actual agreement had a date in
Yeah.
it. I think it was 2020.
It was 18 months. That they could rescind and that if we weren't at a. Point where they felt comfortable, they could rescind the letter and just go build the little,
build it,
the
right.
little lower tank that does us no good.
Right. Because there's thought that he wants to start building at the higher elevation. And that, if I'm not mistaken, required the water tank to be in place, am I correct on that?
It would, anything that's over 950.
950,
Yeah.
and in the 950, as I understand it, is the elevation at the curb stop. Which means if the road level where the curb stop is at 950 or below, even if the house was, you know, the driveway goes uphill.
I do
They-
know that there are a few lots that are currently approved in a previous subdivision that are over that 950 mark. That they are engaging with Weston Sampson to do a further more in-depth analysis to see if it can sustain the water pressure, and they are doing that themselves with Weston Sampson.
Really?
To be able to potentially build on those lots.
Okay, so that's what I'm hearing, that's why I
Yes.
raised the question,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, there were a few of the previously approved lots that the base of the lot was below that 950 line, but where the construction would most likely happen was obviously above that 950 line. So we didn't want to say you absolutely can't do that. If you do your own analysis through Weston and Sampson, who does our own water analysis, and they say it's sufficient, then I think that would satisfy the town that they could build.
Tammy, anything, and you can give an update maybe on the skateboard park, what's going on? The land's been cleared, but there's been a pile of sawdust down there. Have they got a definite date from the contractors to get started down there? That, a number of people, a couple of residents from that area have asked me that.
Yes and no. Long and short of it. The lot is cleared and the builders, state park builders have approved it and said, yeah, we're good to go. We have a list of like in-kind donation needs so that we can, if we can get everything on the list and kind of mobilize for them, then the chances of them getting here this fall, start building it, are way higher than if we can't, and we're working on that. I worked on that some today. And if not, then we are on the build list for spring of 2024. Now, Kevin has taken all of that information and the documentation from the builder saying that, you know, Town of Lincoln's ready, or the skate park is ready to go. The site's cleared, they've done everything they need to do. It's our schedule that's holding them up. And sending them on to our grant. The people that gave us the grants. Heard back from one, I believe, and I'll double check with him, hasn't heard back from the other yet, so we're hoping that
They won't rescind the grant.
right.
Okay. All right, no, that's just, then, you know.
Yeah,
people would ask,
we're in the hurry up and wait stage.
you know,
Yeah,
That's all that I have.
thank you.
Okay, do you have anything else?
I had two things that we both got covered, so I'm good.
All right, then I'll open up for public participation if anyone has anything. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. How does a homeowner
You're
find out?
muted, Paul.
Got it, mute.
Hang on. Well. Mine says I'm not muted. I don't know.
We might not have the volume on the TV.
Do we not have the volume up? Hold on,
Paul.
Okay.
in the 60s loud.
No, there it is.
There
Okay.
you go.
Can you hear? How's this work? All right.
All
Yeah, I
set.
know.
You got it?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. How does a homeowner find out if an abutter who is next to them is renting short term and has been registered? Can you just go down to the town? Can you just go down to the town and say, my next door neighbor is renting short term, are they registered?
Yes,
Okay,
Can I just, is that list, the Granicus list, is that public? Like, is that accessible online to the general public? Or do they have to actually come in or call and ask, say, this such and such an address, and we have to look it up?
currently, they would have to come in and
Give us an address.
give us an address or an owner's name or something, but I think we could easily enough download like an Excel spreadsheet from the software, or download a list of active registrations and post it on the website.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, I just had, I have someone lives next to me who is a short-term rental, and I don't know if it's on your registered list or not, and I was just curious, that's all. How you would find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's public information. We don't have it advertised, but we could if, you know, if that's.
Okay,
something
so it is public information. Thank you. I'll just come down and ask, I guess.
Yeah. An email.
Thank you very much for putting the information from the Forest Service on your website. I understand that you are going to do that.
yes.
Okay. And just so you know, tonight during your meeting, there were two people that wanted to be recognized. You guys took care of mine as far as the Forest Service meeting and, you know, where the information was going, but Cindy Lloyd also raised her hand. So just a comment that during your meeting, if you're on Zoom, people are raising hands and you're not noticing them, or maybe you are and don't want to notice them. I don't know, but Cindy Lloyd did have her hand up and you didn't notice her when you were talking about the riverfront. I just wanted to let you know that.
So that's why we have a public comment section on the agenda for all of that, so, but. I get what you're saying.
Whatever. Amy, I'm making a comment. Take it for what
No,
it is.
no, I totally get what you're saying, absolutely.
Thank you. you.
Generally, I have in the past allowed public comment
Sure.
related to the issue we're talking about at the time we're talking about the issue. It makes more sense to me.
Absolutely, no, I
Instead of telling me what we were talking about a half an
Yeah.
hour ago. So Cindy, I apologize. I should probably turn around because I can see this TV, but
Well, we can also maybe, instead of putting it on speaker view, we can do gallery view, so you see everybody,
everybody.
you know, in the squares, right? Yes, so then if someone raises their hand, you'll be able to see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right, let's use that for our standard
Sure.
procedure. That makes more sense. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a comment, that's all. And have you heard any more about, or do you have any more information about Lower Black Mountain Road and when that might be finished and drainage and stuff like that underneath there?
we're still waiting on the electric company, correct?
We are still waiting on the electric company, but I do believe, I do believe Nate's been in contact with them, so, you know, we are at their mercy, but I do know he's starting to put his paving proposal together for, you know, for this summer, and that
All right.
is, so.
I just noticed that when I drive down there, there's some issues with drainage and I just hope that they can be corrected before they put the top coat on us all.
Yeah, I would hope so.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Cindy.
Hi. I just wanted to mention, you know, I know you were talking about the letter that I sent with respect to Riverfront, trying to establish, you know, reestablish our relationship as we head into the summer. And I did want to note that I think someone said you don't have an easement, but in that letter, our attorney, he's our vice president, and he is also an attorney, granted the town and people with permits who want to access the ladies' bath. It's a permissive access over West Branch Road. And did you, I don't know if you realize that.
The letter says specifically that we don't. You read it.
No, we said we are, if you read the letter, it says that we provided you with permissive access.
It says Riverfront is willing to provide permission to access in exchange for measures of control over the swimming area. Return to its original intent, parking restrictions, maintenance. With that consideration, the board at Riverfront Condo Association has granted permission to the town of Lincoln for the town's use of West Branch Road and for people with permits to park at Ladies Bathtub to have permissive use of West Branch Road for the purposes of
Gotcha.
access to Ladies Bathtub parking area.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Right. And we did that because it is our belief we are working well together. Things are going well. And so we wanted to make sure that you knew that we were granting that permissive access. It sounds like the signage, improved signage will help people to understand that it is permit parking. And I think the only thing, like I say, it's been going, it goes pretty well, but we realized that last year, it was a new program, a new process. And a lot of people didn't understand the permit process or where they could get them. And also that the police staffing was down. So we really didn't make an effort to enforce it last year. So we were kind of looking for a little more support this year, only because we did run into a couple of problems. Like I say, basically during the week, it self-manages. It's just holidays and weekends when there is good weather that there's a problem. And the time is usually 11 to 4. And we usually have someone out there that can help deal with the traffic. And we tell people that, you know, they need a permit to park there, but again, we can't enforce it. I think the most, what we ran into last year though, was that we actually had people with permits come to park. And that there was no parking for them in the lot. A lot of them, because they are local, dropped off. And then when the people went through the lot, people would come back and say to us, wait a minute, most of the cars in there don't have permits. So what's going on here? And again, we can't enforce it, so we just would like to sort of work with you. I know on Labor Day, there was an officer that came by, a great guy. And he actually put placards on all the cars in the lot. And it just said, that you need a permit to park here. This is where you can get it. And if you're not, if you don't have a permit, we can give you a ticket. And maybe that's the thing. I know we say towing on the sign, but maybe, every now and then, you start to ticket, which again starts to communicate that it is a permit, a permit parking area. It's kind of a test area. I think is it still the only permit parking area in Lincoln? But if you move on to other areas, it's kind of it's a testing ground. So we're willing to work with you. I think things are going really well. If we had just an occasional, a little more support on the weekends, when it gets really, really busy. Holidays, of course, are the worst, and good weather certainly makes it more difficult, but whatever we can do to work with you and also to support, when people come in, we try to direct them to other areas, and we try to do the best we can. But basically, I think it's working well, and I hope you feel the same way.
Yes, we do, and thank you and your board and your association for cooperating. Here's my suggestion. Summer's gonna be over very quickly. It always
Yep.
flies by. I'm thinking that a board meeting in July would be a good time to have on the agenda just a ladies bathtub update and bring to us any comments, issues, things. And just so again, that we can maintain good relationships. I'm thinking July 3rd is too early. After the holiday weekend would be better. So maybe July 17th, we have a meeting and we'll just put an update on the agenda, make sure everything is going as we hoped.
Thank you. I think that's wonderful. I mean, because I know, some of the officers have had ideas. We have ideas. We're trying to work together, and we're also trying to keep, the Lincoln and Woodstock residents who do have permits and townspeople, we want to address their want to be here too. So I think cooperation is key. And you're right, we will know better after July 4th how things are going, if there are any issues that we can resolve. But it is much easier to manage than it's ever been before. So I thank you for your cooperation and signage. And it's key that we work together. And like I say, it's kind of a prototype for any other permit parking you might anticipate in the future. So we'll work together. That makes perfect sense to me.
All right, well, thank you, Cindy.
Mhm.
Any other public participation? Do we have anything for?
We do.
Yes. Personnel.
Veterans credit?
Oh, yes, glad you came back. July 17th, Jane, on the Board of Selectmen's agenda, we're gonna get an update on ladies bathtub. Perfect. The big weekend, the first couple of weekends of the summer will have passed, and we'll see. We have one more application for a veterans property tax credit.
Yeah, we actually had it at the last meeting, but I mistakenly overlooked bringing it to the board. So we did get it in the appropriate time frame. It's just you're signing it a little bit later than usual.
Okay, We do vote on these,
You do.
so I'll make a motion, we approve, I should say, the property tax credit application from Vinnie Chaleglio.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Actually, do I do it by tax map and lot number? No, the motions.
Usually say the address.
Even if you say the
The
address,
address.
anybody can look it up. so it's
Three,
fine.
change my motion to 3 Eagle Cliff Road. Thank you. I signed on the wrong side.
It's okay. It's our doc.
It's a print signature.
You just look at it and say it out loud.
Mark that down, Jim.
Yes. Another mistake.
You
I'm just
really-
kidding. Think about it, lottery ticket.
All right, and. This is just a receipt. Receipt for the total equalized valuations for Lincoln. Didn't look at this yet. Doesn't say the ratio.
What was it
No,
say?
it's
What
not,
is the
it's
ratio?
not the ratio. It's just the
Just
total.
The total.
Yeah, gotcha. Is this yours? Jack?
Right?
Seems really high.
It seems really high. We. What if I? Oh,
But it includes all the utilities, the railroad,
it
the,
includes an inventory adjustment. Of $614 million.
Mhm.
That would be the, meaning that we're undervalued here on an equalized assessment basis. By 5%, I guess 95%, is not too bad, all right. See that? And New Hampshire Association of Regional Plan Commissions. Having a meeting. And that's information that's in here. The contract. With the union, that one change from,
we are good to go. Yeah.
we're good to go, all right,
Excellent.
so that can be signed. That's all I have.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public for a personnel issue.
Ryan Fairbrother, can you stay on if you're paying attention?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
And does someone want to second that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all
Thank you,
for coming.
everyone.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna take a 2-minute break here. Be right back. Oh.